This is the segment we like to call Open Mic. My name is Maurice Carver, Executive Director of Stride Incorporated, and the host of your show, Black Men Screaming. We have the pleasure of having Mrs. Frances Rice back on the show. She's from the National Black Republican Association, and she's here to discuss a few different issues that are important and present some views that we may not always hear, but we need to hear. Welcome to the show, Mrs. Rice.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, thank you for coming on. We just had an election just now. Actually, we just had a primary where Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama have been going back and forth at each other. And there's been a lot of people sending me emails, Francis, saying that they're kind of tired of that and they're frustrated with that. And is there any other alternative in terms of looking to someone else? And they want to know, should they be looking at the Republican Party as a viable option, especially within the black community, if they're not satisfied with what they see going on in the Democratic Party?
Far be it from me to try to advise anyone on how to vote. What we try to do in the National Black Republican Association is just let people see the two parties for what they are so they can choose. Hoping that black Americans will leverage their vote the way other groups do, and to hold politicians accountable for the content of their policies and not the label of their party. Of what value is the vote of black Americans if everyone knows how you're going to vote before you go into the voting booth? Why have your vote taken for granted? Take a look at what's happening in urban communities that have been run by Democrats for the past 40 years. They're in deplorable conditions. The socialist policies of the Democratic Party have turned these communities into economic and social wastelands. Blacks have been complaining about these problems for the past 40 years. Democrats have been running these communities, but blacks keep voting for the same party. What's that saying? A person who keeps doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, that's the definition of insanity.
It is the definition of insanity. So, I just wanted to kind of get your take on some things that have been going on. Recently, ABC had a debate where they seemed to be a little bit more, or the perception was they were a little bit more harder on Barack Obama than they were on Hillary Clinton and stuff. But some people say that they weren't hard enough. Do you think that they exposed Barack Obama for some of the things that America wasn't aware of about him?
Yes, I think the mainstream media has fallen down on the job. We simply cannot allow someone to walk into the White House and become the leader of the most powerful nation on planet Earth without being vetted. We Americans need to know what it is that we're voting for, and we cannot vote for someone who's hiding behind a veil. Everyone should be given the same amount of scrutiny, whether they be black, white, male, female, what have you, if they want to be our president. We cannot vote for someone not knowing who they are, and then be surprised when they get into the White House and do things that are harmful to our country. Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton are both left-wing socialists, and we need to know what their policies are, and if we as Americans agree with those policies. If we do, fine, we elect them. If we don't, then we should not elect them.
Okay, now I know that recently the presidents of Mexico and Canada were not too happy about some things that were said about renegotiation of NAFTA, which has been one of the topics that Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama have talked about. Do you think it makes sense to renegotiate, since there's a perception that people think that we are getting the short end of the stick in America?
Well, if there are some issues, then let's address it up front and deal with it. But don't do what Senator Barack Obama did. On the one hand, saying that he's going to renegotiate and then run north of the border and say, never mind, I'm just talking to those dumb Americans down there, trying to get them to vote for me. So don't be dishonest about what you want to do. Be upfront. Give some straight talk. If you don't like what's going on, say you don't like it, and tell us what you're going to do so we can decide if we agree with you. But don't hoodwink us. Okay.
Now let me ask you this question, because one of the things that I see that's becoming an issue is this whole idea of this pen issue. And, a lot of people saying that it really says a lot about Barack Obama because he doesn't wear a pen. But I asked the question: is that the only way we measure patriotism? Because service to your country can be measured that way also.
Well, we looked at symbolism as an indicator of what a person thinks and how a person feels. It's not the pen itself. It's the fact that he's dissing the symbol of our country, the American flag. And then you start looking, well, if he won't do that, why? And how do you feel about our country, the country you hope to be the leader of? So it's a legitimate question. Then you start looking at, okay, he doesn't want to wear the flag pin, and he's been photographed with his back turned to the flag while the national anthem is being played and his hands folded in front of him. Well, what does that mean? Then he associates himself with the pastor who says that America should not be blessed, God should not bless America, God should damn America. Well, what's that about? Then his wife says that she's never had a moment in her adult life, her entire life, and she has been proud of her country.
Well, I have to, just to jump in on that, I have to say that I think they might have taken some of those comments out of context in terms of looking at the full message. And if we're talking about Pastor Jeremiah Wright actually served his country. He served in the Marines as well as the Navy, and he has 3 distinguished commendations from the President of the United States, President Johnson. So for somebody to try to say that he's unpatriotic really would go against the grain. And this is not an ignorant man. He's a brilliant man, actually. He has several different degrees. Now, some people have sent me some emails saying that, and of course, they pointed out that Vice President Cheney at the same time actually had 5 deferments till he was age 26 and didn't serve his country. Now, should we use that as an example of someone not being patriotic?
No, we can look at is what it is that a person is doing, either to hurt or to harm your country. And